What up, what up, what up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Monday. Pretty sure it's Monday. We are live from the living room. We are currently in my living room. We are doing a live broadcast today, as we do every day at 2 o'clock. I am excited for today's show because I actually got some rest this weekend. I know a lot of you might be spending a lot of time on your couch, but I have not. I've actually been working pretty hard to make sure that I can keep my staff maintained and employed, making sure that everybody is okay, keeping business going, and figuring out how to adapt our services to meet the current needs of our clients. So it's been really busy, and every day I felt like I had something to do. And yesterday I had a list of, no joke, like 14 things. And I woke up and I made breakfast, and then I took a 3-hour nap on my couch instead, and it was fucking glorious. And so I really want to recommend that you guys all take a nap today. It does wonders. Turn social media off, take a nap, and release yourself from any pressure that you've been feeling about all the things that you're supposed to be doing during this pandemic. I am really excited today. I have two guests with us that are amazing people, two amazing women, three amazing women on their show total, if you include me. And I'm excited to introduce you to them because I've met them in different ways, but I think the conversation will be really great. And I'm just really grateful that people are taking time to spend with us every day at 2 o'clock. A little break from the doom and gloom, if you will. So thank you for all your support, for tuning in and all that good stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ms. Jen Dalton. Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's Monday. I did remember it's Monday, so I think that's a pretty big win. So I'm good.
Right? I know. I'm like, what day is it? What's going on? I don't even know anymore, right? It can get a little confusing sometimes.
Absolutely.
So tell everybody who you are, what you do, what your business is, all that good stuff.
Sure. So my company is BrandMirror, and I started it 8 years ago. Actually, April 27th will be my 8th anniversary, so almost 8 years ago. And I do personal branding for entrepreneurs and executives. So the people I work with want to figure out how can they be a better face to their business. And now is honestly the best time where you start to see who's really intentional about being a visible, thoughtful leader and who needs some help. So that's what I do. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, I think people need that more than ever right now. Are you seeing like an uptick in your business at all, or where are you at?
I do see an uptick in business in a couple of different spaces. One is people deciding what they want to do next. Maybe this is a good time for them to personally pivot. And because things are a bit crazy, now is a good time to actually work on your personal brand if you're not sure what you want to do next, which is kind of interesting. I think a lot of people feel stuck, but now's a good time to really invest in yourself and take that pause. And then I have a lot of people at the executive level trying to figure out how do they message right now and how do they keep it positive but also real. And for business owners, how do you continue to market your business in a way that is perceived the right way? Because a lot of people have mixed feelings about businesses, how they're selling or marketing their business right now. So there's no perfect answer, but it's important to be able to brainstorm ideas and come up with the best message you can.
For sure. That resonates with me too. I've been, trying to figure out how to be the best leader for my team. And I found that doing like Zoom meetings with them, recording Loom videos, doing more personalized messaging and not like a newsletter or like a Slack message with like, hey, what's up, y'all? Like checking in with my staff, to make sure that they're okay. I tend to just jump right in. Like, I'm not a big niceties person. Some people like send emails and the whole first paragraph is being nice. And I'm like, that's cool, but I just need that PDF. I love you. And that hasn't changed, but like, I'm not. And so I've had to really work on like checking in with people, making sure that they're okay. Because I truly care and I'm really concerned. Half of my team is global, like in India and the Philippines. And it's, in the Philippines, if you leave your house, you might get shot. So yeah, put that shit in perspective real quick, right? Like, wow. Imagine your president telling you that you might get shot if you leave your house. So I can't even really fathom. So yeah, just trying to be positive and trying to like making sure that they're employed and paid, because I know that the money I'm sending them might be feeding their entire family and maybe even some of their village at this point. And so for me, it's like really, really important to maintain that and to be the leader that they need right now. And then sometimes some days I can do it, and other days I'm like, oh God,
It's
I
hard.
don't have it in me.
It's hard figuring out how to lead either in the formal ways or just informally how to be a leader. But it's worth it, and people definitely need it because I think there is a bit of a lack of leadership. But
Yeah.
people can decide if they just want to be a leader at home or with, a few people in their tribe. They don't need to overwhelm them themselves with responsibility. Just do what you can, where you can, when you can.
Exactly. Do the best. Like, have you ever seen that movie, The World's Fastest Indian, with Anthony Hopkins?
No, but now I feel like that I'm gonna have to go watch this movie.
Yeah.
Netflix
It's
party.
it's my favorite movie. And he says, do your level best. Like, that's one of his main quotes. And so that's like, it's like Brene Brown. Like, we have to believe that everybody's doing their best.
Yes.
And you got to do your level best. And it's just going to have to be good enough. And maybe tomorrow it'll be better, or maybe it'll be worse.
Right. It's okay.
It is what it is. All right. So, my next guest is Miss CJ Williams. I want to bring her in. I'm trying to navigate this whole process. Hey, CJ, how you doing?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm good. Thank you for being here today. I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. This is dope.
Yeah, man. Well, I figured it was the only right thing to do, especially how we met. We'll have to jump into that a little later because it's like seriously the craziest freaking thing ever.
It is.
Like what? But yeah, if you could tell everybody, who you are, what do you do, what you're all about, all that good stuff.
Cool. So my name's CJ. I live in Atlanta now, but I am a Washingtonian through and through, from Washington State, being very clear. I'm a podcaster, so definitely a multi-hyphenate. I have a podcast, and I've been doing that for a little bit, and I'm also in production, just sort of overall. So I work on film and TV with a group. Me and my husband actually work on a focus on, it's called Atlantis Filmworks. So we help people do lots of different things, commercials, videos, and stuff like that. So really excited to tell you more about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I'm going to put us all up on the split screen now, so we're all in the same room. It's the Three Heads Podcast. What's up? So I'm going to tell the story real quick of how CJ and I met. It's pretty crazy. So earlier this month, one of my good friends, Sam Burns, passed away. Really unexpectedly. It was heartbreaking for so many people. And it happened while I was at a podcast convention in Orlando. And it was just really tough because I was so far away from home, and I just wanted to be home when I found out. And I found out literally 20 minutes before I got on stage. I was presenting to a group of people about podcasting, how to start a podcast, and all that stuff. And I was excited about it, and literally looked down at my phone 20 minutes before I got on stage, and I saw that, and I just had to swallow it. And I knew that if Sam was there, he would say, you better get your ass on that stage and you better do a good job. Like that's who you are. And so I swallowed it and I got it done. But the day before, I was in a room at this podcast convention, and the guys who hosted the room had everybody introduce themselves in the room, which was interesting, right? So they passed around the microphone. We were all like wiping it down afterwards because that was like the last public event before everything kind of got shut down. And so we went around the room, and this woman grabbed the microphone and she said, I know this is kind of a lot, but when I landed this morning and I turned my phone back on, I found out that my father died. Mm-hmm. And the whole room was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? And you could just feel the love from everybody in the room for this woman immediately. Like no one was like too much information. Like everybody was just like there for her. And it was really beautiful to witness. And so when that part of the conversation was over, she left the room. And so I followed her and I said, hey, I just want to give you a hug. Like, I just want to be here. And so I walked in the hallway and I gave her a hug and I listened to her and I just created some space for her because I don't know, it just felt really important to me. Like, I'm not, that's just who I am. Right. And so she, appreciated that. And then like when she did her talk, I like took some pictures and video for her and I sent them to her and stuff. And so whatever, day goes on. So the next day I find out that Sam has passed away, 20 minutes before I get on stage. So I'm sitting in this like private room and I'm just trying to get my shit together and I'm trying not to cry. And there's nobody really there for me to talk to, and I don't know what to do. And I walk out of this room, and who is the first person that I see out of all the thousands of people at this festival but that woman? And I said to her, she goes, "Hey, how are you doing today? I just want to thank you for yesterday." I was like, "No problem." And I was like, "I got to tell you, like, I just found out my friend died." And she was like, "No way." And I was like, "I don't know. I just feel like of all the people here, you understand the most." And she was like, "Absolutely." So then she hugged me and created some space for me and got me a glass of water and some tissues, right? So fast forward, it's the end of the day. There's this dinner that I was invited to by these guys that have this mastermind cohort. And I don't really know what it is, but I'm like, I can tell they're solid dudes. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll get some free dinner because like food is expensive as shit at this hotel in Orlando anyway. So I'm like, why not, right? So I'm at the dinner and I meet this woman, Kristen, who's amazing. And she lives in Baltimore, ironically. Like, it was just all the small world stuff. So then all of a sudden I'm talking about DC. And then CJ says, "Oh, I'm from Bowie." And I was like, "Oh shit, DC in the house." So we start chatting and she hands me her business card and it says, "Sorry to hear that podcast about grief and about unexpected death." And I said, "Oh man, this is so crazy. Your timing is impeccable because I lost someone this morning." And then she says to me, "Wait a minute. I know who you are. I'm supposed to find you." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Yeah, I met the lady whose father died."
Yep.
Like,
It was
I have
it was
goosebumps
so
right
great.
now.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it was the series just kept going. We were supposed to meet. It was awesome.
like what? And this dinner, mind you, was like off the hotel campus at this restaurant, like 20 minutes away. Like the odds of all of that coming together in that way were just so impeccable. And I just thought this is where I'm supposed to be right now because I made the decision. I could stay in my hotel room that night and like drink wine and cry because I miss Sam. Or I could go to this dinner and just show up. And I ended up meeting two amazing women and lots of other people there too. I don't want to shortchange everybody else in the group, but showing up for
Really
each
memorable.
other and making space for each other is probably one of the most important things that you can do in life. And so, so thank you for that and for being who you are and for
That's very
being on
kind.
the show.
It was awesome to be like, I was told to find you. And I told the universe, I was like, I'm going to find her. I don't know how. I don't even know what her name is. And then we turn around and, like you have like this awesome voice. And I was like, hey, I should talk to her. And you're like, I'm in DC. And I was like, hey. So there was this like really great energy. So
Crazy. Yeah. Like one of the, it's such a beautiful thing, the universe always provides. I've said that for years and I truly, truly believe that. But
See, my story was not that complicated.
No.
We met. We were both like, "Hey, let's take a break from this event. Do you like chocolate cake?" "Yeah, because I'm ordering some. Do you want to share?" "Yeah." And then we were friends for life.
Exactly.
Who will eat a full-on chocolate cake with me? No questions asked, no judgment.
Right. Anytime.
See,
in record speed. I've never seen anybody eat chocolate cake as fast as you, other than me. And I was like, that's my girl right there. That's my friend for
I'm happy to share, but you got to get your own chocolate cake. I'm not just gonna sit there and let you eat it all. I got it,
Yeah, she did too. She was like, "We got to get 2 pieces."
I did. I thought
we're cool, but we're not that cool.
Right.
Oh man,
that's such a great story.
Right? Isn't that like, what are the odds? Thousands of people at this podcast. But I mean, it's just so much, man. It really brought me a lot of comfort at a time when I really, really needed it. Absolutely. And thank God for that conference too, because that was the last time I socialized with anybody was that conference. Yeah. And so, which is why I self-quarantined immediately afterwards. Cause I was like, I just came from Orlando, which is like the home of sick children. No offense, but I'm just saying. Kids are always sick and they love Orlando because there's a lot of Mickey Mouse stuff going on there. So I figured there was a high probability that I came in contact with the virus. Luckily, I've been home and I haven't been sick. Just a little crazy, but no sickness. So here we are. But yeah, so I'm curious to know, I've been thinking a lot this weekend about, pivoting, right? Everybody's like pivot. And I just like, as somebody who has pivoted, right? I owned a multimedia company for 20 years and we were focused on music, art, and culture. And I pivoted. I took those same skill set, and like pivoted just means you like redirect, right? Like I took the same skill set and I changed the audience and I changed the client base. I didn't change like what I was doing, right? And so I embrace the word pivot 100% because it's all about understanding like what's working, what's not working. As humans, we tend to do things that don't work over and over again because they're comfortable. We do it professionally, we do it personally, like it displays in it rears its ugly head in a lot of different ways, right? And so for me, it was about like immediately stopping what wasn't working. And then out of what was working, what brought me the most joy, right? Because I think as entrepreneurs, so often we're like, what's next? Like, oh, website, SEO, write a blog, like public speaking. And then you're just like, well, where am I, right? Like now you're in the middle of this jungle and you're like, well, I did everything I was supposed to do, but what the hell am I actually doing, right? Like, and so for me, I was like, I don't want to just do what I can. I want to do what brings me joy. And that's always been elevating and amplifying voices. Like I love being on the other side of the camera. In fact, a lot of this stuff is uncomfortable for me, but whatever. It is what it is. Nobody's messaged me yet and said you're too ugly for LinkedIn Live. So until that happens, I'm just going to keep going. But, finding what brought me the most joy, and that's what I dialed in on. And so now everybody's talking about pivot. And I just feel like, first of all, can we get a couple weeks? Like, can we figure out, like, can we just like ease into this thing? First of all, because nobody knows what's going on. And can we cut ourselves a little more slack? And so, I'm curious to know, like, I've been really thinking a lot the past 48 hours about the difference between pivoting and adaptation, right? Because adaptation, like, they're saying this could be 18 months, right? Like, so instead of thinking about like what you can do for the next 6 months, it's like, what does this mean for your business in general and not just like the immediate quick pivot? What can I do for 6 months until this thing breaks? Well, this isn't going to break. Like we're going to break before this thing breaks, right? So I'm curious to know, like, what are you guys thinking about this stuff? Because I mean, my head is swimming for sure with a lot of different viewpoints here, but I'd love to hear what you two think.
Yeah, Jen, go ahead.
Well, the first thing I think business owners can do, and definitely the first thing I've been doing, because I don't want to take action without thinking and giving myself a pause, is just to check in with your current clients, right? Like call your people, ask them how they're doing, see what's going on, call your past clients, check in with your tribe. That's really important. And it will make you feel good because you've checked in with them. It'll make them feel good because you've checked in with them. And it will give you a really big set of accomplishments without having to have launched a new website, built an online course and launch it tomorrow, right? And so I think it's important to give yourself a break, which is hard. I mean, I'm type A, just like most everybody in the DC area, pretty much every entrepreneur I know. And so if you're not busy cranking out work, you feel like, what's wrong? Something's wrong with me. I'm not being successful. But for me, at least, it's been reaching out and checking in with people. It's been adjusting to having kids home, finding a new routine. I haven't done that yet. That's still on my, I'm hoping that will happen this week. And not working a 80-hour week or even a 40-hour week, but like easing back into that because, I've been sitting outside, I've been relaxing, I've still got a lot of stress, but it's important to get out of that fight or flight mode because then if you're in the stress mode, you're going to start making some bad decisions about what to go do potentially.
Totally.
And so it's important right now it's okay to slow down a little bit, set a date by when you want to have made that decision, but it doesn't have to be today or yesterday or tomorrow. So just your thoughts.
I think that's a really great point because I've been making subtle adjustments to my morning routine. Like I put this app on my phone called App Detox. And so you can set times like when you can actually open the app or not. So like I can't open Facebook, LinkedIn, email, or Instagram after 7 p.m. or before 9 a.m. Right. And that helps because I don't need to be looking at that shit before bed. And I don't need to look at it right when I wake up. Like there's nothing good. But then my dumbass went and opened up the browser on my phone and circumvented the app and went
Right
on
there, type
Facebook
A innovation, baby.
because I'm an idiot. I'm like, can we get a web browser block on this mug too? Like, yo, apparently I have no self-control.
You might have to block the browser too. Like, you're like, I can only read on this thing, period.
That's funny.
But seriously, but
Open
then
up your
like,
Kindle.
right. But then like this morning, I found myself like going on and looking at it a little bit and then being like, oh man, you know, like immediately just from looking at people, understanding I felt behind already. Like I saw a couple people's posts about business and I immediately was like, oh, and then I was like, wait, that's not what I do. Like that has nothing to do, like simmer down biscuit. Like that is not it, you know?
Yeah.
And I know better. And I still found myself like in this weird, like kind of panicky position. Right. And so it's tough to know, like, you got to just tune so much of that stuff out, right? Like keeping up with the Joneses is hella real right now.
Yeah, but I think also paying attention to, are you doing like a business pivot or are you doing a life pivot? Right.
Mm.
So for me, like I started doing a life pivot about 6 months ago. Right. So I moved cities, I moved jobs, I became like a full-time entrepreneur, full-time creative, like all these other words that I hadn't really used to describe myself. And so like if you're thinking about pivoting, like is this happening for real for real? Is this going to stick around for a while? Or is this truly like maybe 18 months, but like is this for real for you? Whereas like in my business, we've been thinking about making some changes. So this is actually more about adapting to our realities, but actually also more so where our own brains are. So my partner and I are just really focusing on like this makes sense for us and how we want to move. So let's do it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really valuable point. I mean, does it make sense in your business, like what you're trying to do? Like, I think some people are just jumping out with like something they can sell online, and it has nothing to do with what they do at all, right? Like,
Yep.
and do you really need to figure that out right now? You know, especially, I don't know. I think that if you don't have staff, right, and it's especially if you're a solopreneur, like batten down the hatches, yo, like simmer, put that thing all the way on slow simmer and just like maintain, right? If you have staff, that's not as easy to do. Like I have 3 staff, including myself in DC. And then I have 3 people that are global, 2 in India and 1 in the Philippines. And like right now, more than ever, like that paycheck really matters. That paycheck might be keeping their entire family alive right now.
Right.
So there's, even though their paycheck is like considerably smaller than my like DC people, it's still everything to them and literally could be feeding their entire village off of it. And so for me, it really, really matters to maintain that because it's human life. And so I feel like I have a little more pressure maybe than just like an average solopreneur because I do have people relying on me. But at the same time, like that makes it even more important for me to make the right decisions for everybody moving forward and to not just be like, this week we're doing this and this week we're doing that. It's like, no. Like we don't have to figure this out today. Like we can figure this out together and we can figure that out as we go and just do the best we can. Right. Because it's too much, right? A lot of people are thinking about a whole new career and I don't know if that's the time for it.
I think really focusing on what is your routine like. I liked what you said, Jen, earlier, just sort of like, this is what my morning looks like. This is what my evening looks like, right? You know, just doing the basics. Like, so when you get up in the morning, what's the first thing that you do? What's the second thing that you do? It is probably different than when you rolled out of bed and went to work, right? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, you know, so having like understanding like what does that new routine look like and also feeling comfortable in that new routine. So the New York Times was talking about like there's some men who are now actually getting themselves, even though they're working from home completely, they're now actually putting on suits because like that makes them feel like they can be productive and like truly do like good work. So it's like they're establishing that routine of getting dressed, not putting on your pajama pants or maybe changing out of those clothes that you slept in is a part of that work.
Well, and I was talking with a friend of mine who's a coach. Her name is Diane Falk, and we were having that conversation about identities, right? And when you leave the house and you go to work, you've switched gears. But when you're at home, how are you giving yourself signals that you're switching gears? If it's curling your hair, because trust me, I don't do this every day. It's just for special occasions like this, then do that routine. And so I love the idea of, yes, put the suit on, right? Or do your makeup or go down to your office or a separate space. That will help you. Getting back to basics will help you. I know for my business, I've been trying to update and improve some of the collateral I already have, right? Like now is a good time to go update your marketing pieces on your website for lead generation. Or the other thing I'm doing right now is I'm in the process of writing a book. Now is a good time to interview people because they've got space and it gives them something to do as well, which I really appreciate. But trying to find those routines and not force yourself to make new ones just to feel like you're doing something. Because you can be productive without creating and spinning up a whole lot of work, which will create a lot of stress. So I pick 3 or 4 things each day to get right. And then I go to that list the next day because it will be there waiting for me.
For sure. And, one of my favorite mantras is use what you have. I have like 3 or 4 that I live by, like get shit done, ain't nobody dying. Like sometimes when you think like the whole world is pivoting on your website edit, and then you're like, actually, sometimes you have to like talk yourself from the ledge and be like, it's okay, right? But use what you have is one of my favorites. Like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Like these are like my tenets that I live by, right? And it's like, use what you have. Like you don't need a nicer whatever. Like you don't need, like if you can't get another microphone right now, like let's evolve your environment. Let's make it a little bit more conducive. Like, and I think we live in a society that always tells you that you need something more. Like you need the newer iPad or you need this other.
Better. Come on, hello.
Always.
I like number 11. What do you mean?
Right. Like it's always like, well, if I just had this, then I could be that. And if I had this, then and it's like, no, like let's work with what you have. Like let's adapt the space that you're in. Cause I've worked from home for a long time. I was in real estate finance for 13 years. So I have been working from home pretty much most of my adult career. And so I'm very versed in like, get your ass up, wash yourself, put on, I'm not saying you got to curl your hair every day, but like if you used to curl your hair every day, curl your hair every day. You know what I mean? Like do what you do. Like for me, having this show has been helpful because I'm going to be on the internet every day at 2 p.m. and I'm a little bit vain. And so I don't want to show up looking crazy, but I am wearing pajama pants and I'm okay with it. But like I'm reinventing semi-formal wear. The top is all business. The bottom is not so much. Right. But I took a shower this morning. I like, you know what I mean? I brushed my teeth. It's the little wins, right? I started doing yoga. So I like put a yoga mat in my bedroom now. So that way, before I leave my bedroom, I do like a 15 or 20 minute, like even if it's just stretching or a breathing exercise. And I keep my mat unrolled so that number one, I'm not stepping on it when I'm in my room. It reminds me that it's there. And I can't leave my room in the morning without doing a little bit of yoga. And that's really helped my mental state significantly. Just even if, like, cause I'm like low key, like legally disabled and I have all kinds of aches and pains and shit. So some days like just sitting on the ground is like, whoo, that was tough, So sometimes I'm just sitting there and breathing, but even that like helps tremendously. Just taking the space, putting my phone on silent, turning it upside down so I can't see that shit, and just being super present and trying to breathe and embrace the moment that I'm in. Because I feel like there's this weird pressure to have it all figured out, and there's like all this weird shaming going on right now. And I don't think any of us knows what's going to happen, right? Like this is a global crisis, and so we have 6 months from now, none of us might have a business.
Well, and there's a lot of noise right now. I mean, I feel like what you see is, and for whoever's written these blogs, I'm not trying to offend you. 10 things you should have in your office when you work from home, right? Here's what you need to know about COVID-19, shaking hands, whatever. That's not that that's not helpful, but it's not as authentic. Right now is an opportunity for just all of us to be real and say, look, this is what I'm going through. Here's where I can help. Here's where I need help. How do we work together? So I think it's a good space for people to really think about what should they be talking about that would feel good, be helpful, make them happy, right? Without ignoring stuff that's going on, because then that's disingenuous. Everybody knows what's on outside and,
right.
in the outside of our house world. But now's a good time to find your voice and really think about that. I also think, to your point, I mean, I would love to meditate. I have not figured that out yet, but it's important for people to have a creative outlet. So I've started, for better or worse, playing the ukulele.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I don't know if my family appreciates it yet. But I do think for all of us entrepreneurs who create stuff, right? Whether it's trying a new meal, whether it's painting, whatever, find a way to be creative, even if it is crazy, like a ukulele or whatever. Try something creative, because you need to keep those juices flowing, and it also will help you de-stress. So I don't know if you guys have picked up any new creative outlets, but that's a thought for me, at least.
Yeah, I've been cooking and baking. I've been trying not to bake too much because I don't need a pan of brownies laying around with me all day, because I have no self-control.
Awesome.
I know I made brownies twice last week, and then I was like, no more brownies. And then I made brownies last night again. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then I'm like, don't. Yeah, I'm like, don't eat the brownies for breakfast. Don't eat the brownies for breakfast.
Just don't touch them, and then send them to me and I'll eat them.
Guess what I have for breakfast?
I don't think I'm doing anything newly creative. Like, my job is pretty creative, so I kind of I've done more things that are like a little less creative. So I have a puzzle on my dining room table, and so I'm doing my darnest to not like look at TV a lot. So like I will turn on the TV at nighttime, right? Like after 6, right? So which means I need to fill up my entire day. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not on my phone. I need to get off my phone. No LinkedIn, no Instagram, no Twitter, no social media. Let's stay off of all those things.
Yes.
So how do I burn time? And I'm like, okay, well, I can't just sit here. And there's nothing on. So let me go sit and do a puzzle. And it's like, it's enough brain movement that I like it and down and pick it back up at any time. So I've rediscovered my love for puzzles.
Well, I was hoping that I wasn't going to have to admit this publicly, but I've definitely been playing that 2 Dots game on my iPad. I don't know if anybody else is playing this game. I don't know if any. I was like, there's just something very calming about connecting those little dots together and making sounds.
I've been venturing into House Party.
House Party. My good friend hit me up yesterday and was like, you should get House Party. And I was like, I was on my couch, like having an existential crisis. And I was like, you don't want me at your house party right now. I'll be like, do you guys know about 5G though? I'm just kidding. We're not talking about 5G.
We played Cards Against Humanity, and that was entertaining because I didn't really know the people on the house party all that well. And so it was like interesting to figure out, what do you find funny? So.
See, I have another hot take here. I think Cards Against Humanity is some shit. I think it is a really thinly veiled opportunity for white people to be hella racist and homophobic. I don't think it's funny at all. I think it's very trite. I think I think it's just really stupid, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it is an opportunity for all of our isms, and I don't think it's just white people. I think it's everybody. Everybody carries around an ism that's just sort of just gross in general. So yeah, you're right. It does provide an opportunity for it to show up.
Yeah, and I just think I think it's punching down, right? I think that's what it is that it feels like punching down to me and not punching up. It's not creative. But I know people love Cards Against Humanity, so don't start a petition.
Make your own decks, right? You can make your own cards.
Yeah.
Right. Which I've never played, nor made my own deck, in full disclosure. But I know my 13-year-old keeps trying to get me to buy it, and I'm like, I don't think that's age appropriate. But thanks.
No.
Good try.
There's lots of jokes about ball. No, it's very sexual. It's very homophobic, slanted. So if you're in a room full of gay men, it's hilarious. But if not, it's I don't know. right? Like
the house parties version is very PG, like very light, so it was okay. But like Cards Against Humanity, like the actual game, yeah, no,
yeah,
it's
I'm
not
like,
for
who
13,
is
it's not
writing
for
this?
13-year-olds.
Yeah, I'm like, who writes this? The same guy who updates the Urban Dictionary, because this shit is crazy, y'all. Like, it is really foul,
It's
really
someone with a
inappropriate.
lot of time on their hands for sure.
And if I'm saying something's inappropriate, you gotta know it's really out of
That's a
line.
high bar. I mean, yeah.
If I'm offended, it must be really bad. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've just been trying to break my day up. This 2 p.m. stream has been helpful because it forces me to get a bunch of stuff done before. And then when it's over, I feel like I can kind of chill a little bit and it gives me a little bit of a break. Or if I get up super early, then I can like get all my stuff done, do the stream, and then at 3 o'clock or 3:30, I'm done for the day. And that's okay. And that clear marker really helps. Because yeah, there's a lot of time. Like we got to process a lot of stuff right now. You know, there's a lot going on. My mom is in home hospice care right now. We set her up with that like a month before all this went down, so I can't go see her. And you know, my mom is old and stubborn. I love you, Mom, but fuck's sake, man. She's like, I'm gonna go to Walmart and pick up my prescriptions. I'm like, no. So why would you go? No, it's where all the stupid, dirty people are. Sorry, people of Walmart, but like, no, do not go to Walmart. She's like, well, I'm just gonna go to the pharmacy. I'm like, that's where the sick people go, Mom. That's the no. She's like, I'll be fine. I'm like, oh gosh, you know. But she's mostly like not leaving the house, but she's already on oxygen and stuff too. So it's like, you know, I try not to think too much about like the worst possible case scenario and just try to like hope for the best and stay positive. Because at the end of the day, like, I don't know, man. And maybe we'll all be living in like tents again, but like all of us will be, and it'll be okay. Maybe it'll be the redefinition of society as we know it, you know?
I do think people have a lot more empathy now, right? Which is a good thing coming out of this.
Yeah.
And I keep reminding my kids, like, hey, you have Wi-Fi. You're in a house.
Right.
You're like, we'll be fine, right? Knock on wood. Our situation could be a lot worse. So be grateful for what you have. But I think for the folks who didn't want to have work from home policies, now they're getting to realize what that is like and why it matters.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping on the other side of this, whenever that is, that it's hard to think about now, but that we take the positive things and keep doing them into the future and just have a lot more flexibility. I mean, there are a lot of people who can't see their family members and they're in dire straits, who, you know, can't go. A friend of mine is supposed to get married this month. That's been moved to October.
Not happening. Yeah.
So we did like a virtual bridal shower and tried to give her good marriage advice. I don't really know if it was or not, but but it was a way for us to all engage and be with her. And so I think it's good to find creative ways to engage and talk to people. I know I talk with my dad every night. He's the same way. He's by himself and he wants to go out all the time because he's an extrovert. And I'm like, you meet all of the criteria for not going out. Stay home.
Right.
But I'll call you every day just to help make sure you're home. Right.
Yeah. I could do a variety show for you. Like, what do you need, Pops?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of, you know, and it makes me think a lot about, you know, CJ in particular. I feel like you could address this as like, you know, grief, right? Like, you know, Sam's funeral was 2 weeks ago, like in the midst of this lockdown. And so, and I was invited to it, which was a tremendous honor because it really was only family members and like a very, very small handful of friends. And I felt very fortunate to be there, but it was scary too, because it's like, I'm a hugger, man. How am I supposed to hug my friends? Like we lost like our dad. Like, you know what I mean? He was like our dad. And like, so I just said, fucking, I hugged my friend Candace because like, I was the only affection I've gotten since Florida, frankly. And I don't know how to comfort somebody. Like, what does love look like in the time of coronavirus? What does grief look like in the time of coronavirus? You know, like, I was talking to a friend of mine about Sam and they were like, yeah, it's just so surreal. It's like, did it even really happen? Because we lost him and he used to run Sunday nights at 18th Street Lounge. That was like our church, right? And we were like, What's 18th Street Lounge going to be like? What's Sunday night going to be like without Sam? Well, guess what? We're never going to know because there is no Sunday night anymore. We lost that too.
Right.
And so we lost our main place to congregate and like love each other and like remember him. And so it's like, sometimes it's like, did it happen? Is he really gone? I don't know. It's like, I know he is, but like, it's very confusing. And I there's so many people who are in that space right now that I don't think social media really recognizes that it's like, you know, you can't even go to a funeral of someone who dies right now. That is so hard. So yeah, do you have any advice, CJ? You talk a lot about grief and loss and stuff with your podcast. Do you have any advice for people there?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the classic stuff, really, trying to be nice to yourself about it, right? And I mean, so the reason why I started my podcast, it's called Sorry to Hear That for a lot of reasons. But part of the reason why I started it was when my mom died a few years ago, it really did feel like my mom had gone on vacation and she had just like decided not to call me back. And of course I was offended and very angry that my mother wouldn't call me back, right? I mean, I still speak about my mom in the present tense. We have a great relationship. And so I was offended that I hadn't talked to her in a year, right? In 6 months, in however long, right? And so I think being nice to yourself and being able to sort of embrace those feelings of like, you know, shit, like the place where I normally go and embrace that person, whether that's at home or whether that's somewhere out on the street, like that's been put on a very strong pause and that's okay. But also being like, and I'm not really sure how to mourn them yet. Being nice to yourself in all kinds of ways. And I mean, because you're mourning multiple things, right? Like, so while my podcast focuses on death, right? Grief has lots of different versions. So a lot of us are grieving like the death of our routine, right? Like, right? Like the death of our identity that exists outside of the four walls of our home, of our apartment, of, you know, our bedroom, right? So
I heard that.
So, you know, like, I mean, as I said, I've been working on a life pivot. I mean, that was a grieving process in its own, right? So we all are as like humans, as who are trying to work our way through sort of COVID-19, Corona, all of the things, like we're working on just sort of a life difference. And it's okay to grieve that. And so when you lose a loved one, especially now, you know, like I commend people that are like, we put a pause on the memorial, right? Like, because I don't know how I could have handled it to be able to say like, oh, we're going to pause the memorial, which for a lot of people is a way to sort of close a chapter, to put that ending on. And so to be able to be willing to extend that sort of closing of the chapter just a little longer, that's tough. So, you know, again, making space for yourself to be okay with that, and like, but being okay to be like, I'm really fucking sad today. That's fine, right? Like, just own the shit out of it. Like, I'm sad today, and that's just what it is. And we're gonna hope that tomorrow you're not as sad as you were yesterday. And also too, like, I've reached out to a lot of, like, so where my tribe is on Instagram. And so I've reached out to a lot of different people, and just sort of like, my thing that I've been saying to people is just know a stranger is rooting for you, right? They don't know you from Susan or Candace, right? Like, so just know that there's multiple people that, like, even if you're posting a little bit, if you're posting a lot, it doesn't really matter. There's strangers rooting for you.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. I'm working with this woman, Sarah Shane, on like rebuilding her website and getting her videos set up because she does guided meditations. And so she's my yoga therapist. So she would come to my studio and like do like sound healing, like sound baths with me and guided meditations, because like my brain is just like, it's just bad. It's like Walt Disney on acid. You know what I mean? It's a scary, fun place to be sometimes, but it's really hard for me to meditate and quiet my mind. So I find that guided meditations are really helpful. And then if they're in the room, then it makes it even harder for me to like zone off, because I'm like, oh God, she's right there, right? So that's been working really well for me. And so we started, I was like, we need you more than ever. So like I got her set up, and she like is going in her bedroom closet and recording with like her microphone. And I was like, just pretend I'm there, you know, Like we're talking about like betrayal, we're talking about loss, we're talking about unconditional, like all the things that I've been dealing with in the last like month or so and where I'm feeling. I was like, just pretend I'm there. Pretend I'm laying on the floor and you're doing a guided meditation, except it's your microphone and your laptop and it's not me, because I know that I'm not the only one going through loss and deceit and betrayal and all these other things right now. And so she started recording those. And so yesterday I was like doing some yoga and I was like, oh, let me listen to her new one. And it was a gratitude meditation. And she had you visualize, like do all these breathing exercises. And then she had me visualize someone in a hospital bed. Right. And I was not expecting her to take me there. Mm-hmm. And she was like, imagine somebody in a hospital bed, they have tubes in their nose, like they're laying there, they're scared, they're alone, they're probably in pain and they need some love. And like, imagine yourself like sitting next to them. Imagine yourself like holding their hand now, like, and just did this like breath work meditation of like sending that. And I swear to God, I like left my body for a few minutes. She had me like chant this thing about like cellular healing and like sending you a lot. I mean, I know it might sound kind of hokey for people, but I swear that was so powerful. And it just really helped to remember that, like, yeah, man, like people are scared right now. Like if you are in the hospital, you're alone in the hospital. Like you're not there with your family. They can't come visit you. And how scary that must be. And like taking this like white light and this energy that I had over top of me and transferring that to somebody else, even if just for a few minutes, like it made me feel better. And like, I hope maybe somewhere in the universe, somebody was on the other end of that in a hospital bed and maybe felt a little bit of that. And it made me just realize that like, I don't have any problems, actually,
I think that it is hard because there's so many people who need help right now. And we can't all help in the same way, right? Like you do not want me sewing a mask ever, but I am happy to donate money to get masks.
Right.
I can't go out to my favorite restaurant, but I can order online, right? And DoorDash and Grubhub. There are plenty of assisted living facilities where you can draw something, take a picture and email it. And then, people there can open it and see it, or you can do videos and send them. So, I would recommend for people, one, to take care of themselves first, oxygen mask first. Now is an oxygen mask moment. And then to think about what feels doable for you in this moment. And if it's sending someone a short video saying, hey, I just want to let you know, I was thinking about you. I saw this funny thing and it made me laugh. Or if it's donating or if it's supporting a local business and buying a gift card, just do what you can. But yeah, it is a very scary time. And I'd be curious to know, CJ, on the notion of grief, is there a ritual you recommend, even if it's just taking a moment and saying, I need to say goodbye to the life we had before, because it's just different now and it's new and it's different. That doesn't mean it's bad or awful. It just means it's new and we're figuring it out. Like, how do what are your thoughts on that? Because I think, like you said earlier, there's a lot of grief that I don't know that people realize they're going through because something has totally changed. Everything has totally changed. And we know people don't like change. And we all just got a ridiculous amount of change at once.
In like 2 weeks.
Right? Like, here's the change that you might never have had for the rest of your life. And it's all been brought forward in 2 weeks or for the next 6 months. So like, what are your thoughts on some things people can do to sort of close that last chapter and just be in this new chapter fully and not sort of stuck between them?
Yeah, no, that's actually something I'm working on. So that's full transparency. I'm not there yet, but I'm, as we were talking about before, like playing with what routines look like. So one of the things that the mastermind asked us to write was a letter to ourselves, December 31st, 2020, right? So we're going to read it again, and as if everything that we wanted to do was already had been done, and we're reading it at that point. So a lot of us probably did that in January, right? Because new year, new me, whatever, and all that good stuff. But like, actually, that's probably changed a lot. Like your vision board has probably changed in major ways. So maybe you're writing yourself a new letter, right? Or making yourself a new vision board, right? Like we don't know how long this is going to last. It could be 4 more months. It could be 6 more months. It could be 18 more months. We're not really sure, but like addressing where you feel like you can have some sanctity in your own life and control in your own life, perhaps that goes and changes what you do with that. Another thing, I really like this meditation thing. I'm actually working on it myself. I have a schizophrenic mind myself. Like, it is everywhere and lots of things are talking to me. So I actually use the shower as my place to meditate. It's the one place besides brushing my teeth that my brain goes quiet. So like being confident and cognizant of like where those quiet places are for you, because like, especially if you have a brain like mine, like Molly, it sounds like you do too, like your brain is running, just, it is sprinting, and even though like you're not doing anything, you might be laying on the couch, like remember where those like quiet moments are, which is where my puzzle kind of comes in a little bit. It kind of brings my mind down. And so while like technically I'm supposed to be washing my body when I'm in the shower, I can spend another 5 to 8, 15 minutes in there. Like, nobody's going to scream at me, but, my partner talking about like, hey, what's with the water bill? Right. Like, but it gives me an extra minute or two to like bring my mind down, quiet it a little bit. A lot of people journal, and I'm here for it. I'm a writer by like love and by trade. But my reality is that I get overwhelmed easily, right? Like, making myself write every night is not going to happen, because I get anxious, I get depressed about something, like life happens and I don't make it a priority, whatever. But I found also making voice notes to myself has been really, really fun. So sometimes it's a voice note, sometimes it's a video, and I look like a mess and I feel like a mess sometimes. But like, even just doing that for like a minute is all I really needed to write for the day. So lots of like little tiny things, but being cognizant of the little things.
I like that. I think that's good. I've been trying to, somebody asked the other day if you're like journaling or whatever. And I was like, well, I guess kind of this live show is a little bit of a journal, right? Like we could look back on it a year from now and think about what we were talking, like what came true, what didn't, where did it happen, or what's different. But yeah, I think you're right too about the vision board, right? Like, shit has changed, y'all. Like, my game plan was to like build this podcast empire and get bought by Spotify, because Spotify just bought, $800 million worth of podcast companies. And for all I know, the Spotify guy might be in his bathroom right now. Like, why the fuck did I spend $800 million? Like, I don't know where they're at right now. Or maybe they're like, yeah, we're about to crush it, because I don't know. Right. And I can't even speculate on that. But I know that like my end game is to get to Costa Rica, because I feel like life isn't supposed to be spent working all the time.
Would I be there? Yep.
And that hasn't changed, right? Like, maybe I just don't go to Costa Rica with $150 million. Maybe I go with $150. And you know what? I'm pretty sure I'll be all right one way or another. Might lose that COVID-15 I put on looking for food, but whatever. I mean, but, I think it's relevant to, because, and people are like, oh, Molly, your business is going to kill it. You're going to thrive. Like, this is like your lane. This is it. It's like, yeah, sure, but I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody knows at all. And then there's like survivor's guilt too, right? Like, I was talking to a friend of mine. He just got laid off last week, and he was like, I was having a little survivor's guilt because I still have my job. He's like, and now I don't have it anymore. So now I'm freaking out. And I was like, yeah, that's totally fair, but there's so many, even if you didn't lose everything, you might be feeling bad about it, right? I don't know.
There's like this like weird mixture of like FOMO and imposter syndrome that's like going around, right? Like I'm seeing it like together, which doesn't make any kind of sense. Like, so you have a job and you have like, you're good, but like I should be doing more. Why? Just there's all sorts of stuff like floating around in the universe that, just, I don't know. I'm hoping that we kind of even ourselves out and be nicer to ourselves in general.
I agree. I think we work too much. I think we work too hard. And I've been saying this for a while. Every year I work harder than I worked the year before. Every year I work more hours than I worked the year before. But my position in life really hasn't changed. Like, I don't have 10 more houses because of all of my efforts. I'm still in the same position, more or less, right? And I don't think that that's what life is supposed to be. And I think that this virus is breaking some of these paper thin margins in this really fragile economy and showing us what we actually have. And I don't know. I think if at the end of this we come out and we have more front porch parties and neighborhood gatherings, and no disrespect to my hospitality industry people, but if we all spent less time in bars and hung out with our neighbors instead, maybe we might have better situations like with racial like relationships, with like clashal. Is that a word? I'm making words up and shit. But you know what I mean? Like maybe if you knew your neighbors a little you can do whatever you want in the apocalypse. But I think that I think that if we just like do you know your neighbors? Do you know who's on your block? Right? Like it reminds me of this. I saw this thing on the internet where this girl like made this sign, and they're like, don't forget some of your older neighbors like might need help or whatever. So she wrote this sign and she like put it up, and she was like, hi, my name is Mary, and whatever. And this old lady like saw it, and then she like wrote her own, and she put the sign up, and it said, piss off.
That's not cute.
I was like, that's my kind of lady right there. But and it seemed very real too, which was what made it so great. But yeah, do you know your neighbors? Do you know who on your own block needs help and who doesn't? Like, maybe this is what we all really needed in our own like crazy apocalyptic way, right? Like I don't know.
I know I'm also spending more time with my kids being goofy, which normally I'm not goofy. Like I just don't think I'm that crazy, right? But like letting my hair down, asking goofy questions, acting like a kid. And that's time I wouldn't necessarily have tried to have before. My mom passed away last year at the end of April. And so since then, I've been a lot more focused on being present in the moment. And this has only sort of doubled down on that and really forcing me to like, now you're all in the same house. So everybody knows if you're being present or not, because you can't escape that.
Yeah.
And so, lunch is blocked for family lunch because they have school before that and school after that. And so that routine is slowly starting to come together, but I enjoy having time where we just sit and have a real conversation, right? And we chuckle and giggle, and like that's all good because they need that laughter too, because they know something is going on. So yeah.
Totally. CJ, you're about to say something?
I'm also, I mean, maybe it's also the revolutionary in me. I'm hoping that like this will help the change in our society do some bigger goals, right? Like there was some talk about, we should make healthcare employer based only, but when you have 6.6 million people go and claim unemployment, all of a sudden, like, does that really work anymore? Right. I'm hoping like Medicare, like the cost of medical care maybe goes down in some way. Right. Or just like, there's just like a few other sort of like, Viva la revolution that I really hope for, So,
yeah. And I don't think we're there yet, right? Like, I don't think people have fully grasped how much this will change everything.
Totally.
And I feel really badly for folks who don't have a job right now, businesses who can't get revenue in because they don't have more than 60 days of savings. Typically.
No.
30 days is even pushing it.
I know, exactly. 60 is like, woo, phew. 30 is more, maybe more likely. My revolutionary idea, which my conservative friends don't like, is just give every household $250,000. Just give it to them because they need to pay off their debt. Business owners need to pay rent. They need to pay. This is in addition to the small business stuff. This is like for people. And I know that sounds like a stupid, crazy number, but if we come out of here 3 months from now and nobody's any better off, nobody's figured anything out, then everything we did this month, it's not going to matter because we're going to have to do a huge injection of something.
Right.
People can pay off their student loans. People who've already paid them off, they can pay off their mortgage or go do something else. But I do think maybe 250 is a crazy number, but we do need an answer that's totally disruptive because COVID-19 has been totally disruptive. We can't respond the same way we have to everything else. And I know nothing about any of this other than conceptually talking about it out loud, and it sounds good, but I'm hoping that other people in decision-making places, including voters, will try to be disruptive, right? This is where we could actually fix a lot of problems close an
100%.
inequality gap, have real conversations. But I don't know how
Mhm.
open everyone is for that, but hopefully it'll happen. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, some of these people that are untouchable aren't going to be untouchable forever. Like, there's a lot of people who have insulated themselves from any real suffering or inequality or anything like that, and that that castle made of sand is only going to last so long. The tide is going to come rolling on in, and it's going to mess up everybody's idea of what stability really means. Because, even if people have really huge companies, that just means they have more employees. Like I was talking to my friend who, owns a large music store, and they have like 160 employees or something. His payroll is $350,000 a month.
Yeah, $1,200 is not going to cut it for individuals, nor will the 10 grand for businesses, and nothing's making it through right now. It seems to be getting stuck. And don't even get me started on the nonprofits who are totally struggling and having to rethink, talk about a pivot, doing fundraisers online, virtual fundraisers. I mean, it's really a lot.
And also knowing who their audience is, right? So their own audience might be already struggling, right?
Yes.
So, right. We were talking about privilege before, but this is definitely a space of privilege.
100%, right? Yeah. And it's like, when it first went down, like I kind of had some uncomfortable conversations with friends of mine in hospitality because they're like, we've lost our whole industry. And I had to like side message them and be like, bruh, everybody lost their whole fucking industry. Like, it's like, I get that you live in your like little bubble here and like all your friends are hospitality and that sucks. And like a lot of us are like, I was in hospitality for 20 years. I know all the bar owners, like it sucks. Like, I'm not saying I'm glad they're going out of business, but like to think that you're the only one affected is just like ridiculous, man. Like everyone's worried about their job. And so like, yeah, don't put up a GoFundMe, file for unemployment because the government needs to understand how bad it is, like they're not like, and you're asking people to fund your GoFundMe who also just lost their job. Like, people who went to college and did all the right things, whatever that shit is, right? They're fucked too, right?
Well, so like they're not going to get the $1,200 because guess what? It's based off 2019 tax returns. We were fine in 2019, relatively speaking.
Right.
It's not the 2019 money; it's this year's money. So
it's this year's money.
Who definitely aren't getting money, who are also struggling. So it's across the board.
It is across the board. So it's going to be interesting. But I think now, and I want to talk about this a little bit too, is like collaboration, right? Like I posted this morning because I was like, I think that day of rest really served me well. So like I have a printer, is in Baltimore, and he has his own print shop. And I was like, Naveed, are you still printing? He's like, yeah, man, I'm full systems ahead. I just don't have any fucking orders. And I was like, okay, bet we're going to come up with something. He's like, yeah, this company I work for said they would donate the ink and give it to me for free if we came up with some positive stuff. So I was like, bet. So I got on Facebook this morning and I was like, yo, creative people, like, do you have an idea for a shirt? Like, you design it, I'll get them printed, I'll ship them, and I'll just give you like $4 on every shirt or whatever. Like, we can get this done, right? Like, I have the ways and means. Naveed is still printing. Like, let's collaborate that way. And then like I saw another friend of mine was like, I'm super confused by all this like unemployment shit. So I'm like, well, wait, why are like all the grant writers should be like, you can hire me. I'll fill out your fucking unemployment applications and your SBA loan applications. Like, give me all your information. We're not going to tell anybody we're doing that because you're not allowed to, right? But like, let's get this done. You know what I mean? Like, let's find a way. Somebody's knocking on my door and I am not answering that. Like, who knocks on the doors during an apocalypse, man? But like,
knocking and dropping.
I'm like, what is going on? He's wearing a face mask on his head. I'm not. Whatever.
Wrong place,
that is not it, my friend. But yeah, if you are handy and you're good at writing grants and you didn't get overwhelmed by the unemployment process, why don't you reach out to people and say, hey, when you get your unemployment check, throw me $30 of your first one, and I'll fill out the form. Like, there are ways, right? Like, what is your skill set? What are you good at? And like, let's collaborate and like, let's bring it all back to the village, right? Like, let's get Naveed printing some shirts. Let's get a local artist to design one. Like, one of my guests the other day, she said, Mana Mostatabi, I think that's it, Mona Mostatabi. She said, do less and be more. And I was like, oh, I fucking love that, right? Like, yeah. Especially right now, like, do less, man. Be more. Like, stand up in your community. Like, be the light somebody needs right now. Like, you don't need to develop a 5-step guide to how to. No, like, don't need a sales funnel. You don't need. Do less and be more. Like, that's a great shirt, right? Or like, I survived COVID-19 and all I got was this lousy T-shirt and respiratory infection. I don't think that's going to be a winner, but I'm just saying. You never know. But like, maybe we can come up with some creative shirts and we can sell them, and the people who still have money can like buy a shirt, then they can support a local artist and they can support a local printer, right? Like, I feel like now is the time for us to say, like, fuck these outside solutions. Like, we have it all here. We got to get back to the village mentality and help each other out. Because I know there's lots of people completely overwhelmed by these SBA processes.
Oh my God.
And like, if I could just give somebody like the access to my life and say, can you just apply for everything possible and do it in the best way possible? I would happily give them like 10% of anything that came in. Like, seriously. Like, you know what I mean?
I think
there's some photographers that are doing some really cool stuff here. They're doing front porch pictures. And it's like cool because essentially like a neighborhood will all get together and like kick the photographer like $400 or something, but the photographer will walk around the neighborhood and everybody gets like family photos, and it's sort of like a block party in a way without being a block party, which I thought was like just super dope. And they're actually in part of like the monies that is given actually goes to a charity that helps different people that are even in need, right? Restaurant workers, their moms, and all sorts of stuff.
But I think it boils down to like knowing your neighbors, right? Like, you gotta reach out to your neighbors to organize some shit like that. You know, like, I was talking with my friend, I always get her name wrong. I really have to learn how. It's like Zadinga. I know I'm getting it wrong, but it's better than just calling her Z because that's cop out. But anyway, I digress.
Debatable.
She lives. Well, you know, white people, we're so fragile and insecure that if someone's name is complicated, we just don't do it. But it's really offensive. Like, you should, man. You gotta try. I'm just gonna look like an idiot, but I love you. She lives in Ward 7 or Ward 8, and there's one grocery store. There's one grocery store to serve 68,000 people, and it's a Safeway. I don't know if y'all have ever eaten meat from Safeway, but I know the answer is no because you're still alive. And so it's just not good, right? So a friend of mine hit me up and was like, yeah, I'm doing this like co-op delivery thing from like Restaurant Depot and like a bunch of Amish farmers and shit. And I was like, dude, this is amazing. Can I send this to my friend in Anacostia? And she was like, yeah, just tell her to like reference you. So I sent it to her and she's like, this is amazing. And I'm like, how can we organize something like, how can we organize like a bulk buy and then set up I don't know. How can we help like not like fuck the government? Pardon my French. I don't know why I'm apologizing now, but whatever. Like, we can't rely on them to fix this. We have to rely on each other, right? Like, if you know somebody who's delivering Amish eggs for the low, then like, let's coordinate to get them to Ward 7 and Ward 8 because the mayor ain't gonna do it, right? And like the council members, they're doing the best they can, no shade. Like, but I mean, how do we get to a point where there's no hospitals or grocery stores to service 150,000 people? Like, I'm sorry, council members, but y'all failed. You didn't do your job, or we wouldn't be in this position in the first place. So like, fuck the city council, actually. Let's just take it back to the streets and let's organize within ourselves and make it happen. Let's coordinate artists printing shirts. Yeah. Let's coordinate some food options. Let's coordinate some things that don't involve major corporations. Because I think at the end of the day, it's the only way that we're going to survive, quite frankly. You know?
And if you look at, I'm sure there's restaurant associations. And if you said, hey, every time I order from a restaurant, they're going to, the grocery store in their neighborhood, or maybe they will donate cans to the food centers, right? Because they're running out of food, right? There's got to be like a buy one, get one, or just something where it starts to have a ripple effect.
And maybe that's what it is, because it's like, this is when the haves and the have-nots need to come together, right? Because all the have-nots don't have access to the food. They don't have the money for it. And then there's all these haves that could throw an extra $20 a week, right, to help feed some other families, but they don't know where to give that money. So it's kind of a combination of the haves and the have-nots getting together and organizing together to solve some of these problems. I'm kind of fired up right now, actually, about doing that.
But I do think local is important, right? So in your county or in your 5-mile radius or something where you can say, hey, I've been locked at home, so I'm going through all my clothes and I've got these work clothes I'm donating. Okay, well, good. Give that to Suited for Change or hey, I am going to go to the grocery store, but while I'm there in Instacart, I'm going to tell Instacart I want to donate 10 cans to a food bank in my area.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that there are specific groups like Amazon, Instacart, Grubhub, whatever, where they could actually play a pretty differential role if they stepped up. But then locally, to your point earlier, if you want to do that, you've got to let people know you're trying to lead. You just need help into figuring it out. People will step in and help you brainstorm.
Totally. It takes a village, man, right? Like it takes a village to save the village, and that's where we're at for sure. Awesome. Well, ladies, this has been a really great conversation. I thank you both for taking time to join us today. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and it's already 3:15 somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I'm really excited. I think yesterday getting some sleep is probably the best thing I've done for myself, and I am going to like motivate and get some things set up on how we can make some changes locally in our own neighborhoods, because I can see some opportunity, or not opportunity. I see some solutions, like not opportunities, but solutions pretty clearly. And so I think I need to do what I do best and make that shit happen. So thank you both for tuning in today. I will make sure that, or not tuning in, but for being a thing for people to tune into. And I will update the description with all your links and everything else so people can check out your podcast and they can talk to you, Jen, about marketing and messaging in this time. What is the tagline? Be a noise breaker, not a noise maker.
Not a noise maker. That's right.
I love that one. It's one of my favorites. So thank you both again for being here. And if for any of you poor souls that have tuned in to me for the 17th day in a row, I apologize on behalf of my ugly mug. But I thank you very much. And if you listen to this and you have some ideas on how you can help me mobilize in the communities to get some food and get some resources to people based on some of the stuff we were just talking about, hit me up. Let's make it happen, because we have each other. Like, we might not have the stimulus check yet. We might not have the government that has our back, but like, I got your back, man. And I know you got mine. So let's find a way to make this work. Let's find a way to get some solutions going. Let's find a way to make some hope and joy and make sure that everybody's okay. Because when the smoke clears, like, all we have left is each other. So be good to each other out there. Be safe, be kind, and hit me up. Let's make some things happen. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.